Hey Zwifters, I'm Simon Schofield, this is Leah Thorkelson, this is Tanja Erith. This is a special edition of the Zwiftcast from Girona in celebration of Women's Week. Coming up on this episode, a real insight into life as a pro rider as Academy winners Leah and Tanja settle into their new training base in Spain. We're in Girona's coolest cafe for chat about racing, training, women's cycling and cheese.
Would you like some cheese?
I'd love some cheese. I love cheese.
Well, hello you two. This is Girona. It's such a great place. It's about my fourth or fifth time. You've been now installed for what, 2 weeks I think? Do you love it yet?
I do. I really love it. I think this is the first place in all of my traveling abroad that I've thought, wow, I could stay here.
Yeah.
I could stay here permanently. And I mean, that's not in my plan right now, but I think it's just, it's small, it's easy to navigate, you can get out of the city quickly, it's nice for cycling.
This is, in case you're wondering, this is La Fabrica, which is like a cool coffee shop run by an ex-cyclist, Christian Meyer. He's got a number of businesses here. This is one of them. We were here for a coffee earlier on this morning. Tanja, what do you make of this place? You're a European, so it's maybe a bit less different for you than it is for Leah.
The place is just beautiful, and I've never lived in like an old city. It's a lovely place and it's small. I'm from a really small village, so cities kind of scare me, and this is just the perfect size to feel comfy.
It is a small place. It's like a central historic core, which is tiny. You can walk around it in like 5 or 10 minutes, and then there's a more modern city which kind of rings it. But everybody who comes to Girona probably comes for the old town, which is a great place, and now home to Leah and Tanja. So I thought it'd be a good idea to find out a bit more about everyday life as a pro cyclist in Girona.
Welcome to our apartment. Do you like that? This is our flat. Bikes and bike equipment, that's kind of where we store all of our things. Here we have our TV when we'll do some Zwifting later on. Right over here in the window so we can open it up and get some fresh air and ventilation. And we have a nice view over here of the street and a nice our neighbor Tess. Our friend actually lives right across the way there. A lot of action here in the evenings. We can see there's quite a few people out even right now, but it really gets kind of loud with groups of folks walking through there. It's nice. It's that feel for Spanish life. And then we have our kitchen space over here. We have a lot of, we call them our family dinners over at this table here. We eat a lot, we're cyclists, so.
Let's see what's in your fridge. Hi, Alexis.
Hi. There's 5 kilos of Parmesan.
Yeah.
12% beer?
I don't know whose that is.
Yeah.
Those are mine. Good
Well,
old
my,
Dorian. Oh, this is a staple. This is a staple.
Yes.
Got some vegetables.
So how often does this fridge get stacked up, Leah? It's impossible to keep it full, isn't it?
I think I go to the store every day.
I think we do, yeah. Because you always, as far as like, there's things you keep, like your almond milk, and we've always got a stash of bananas, avocados, mangoes. They have the best mangoes ever here. It's not like in the US where, you go and buy like pounds of meat, because there's a butcher 200 meters down the road.
Yeah.
So you can kind of get things as you need it. And then, we have a small market and have become friends with the owners. So you just go in there, have a nice conversation with them, and get whatever you need for the day. But I feel like one, if not all of us, are at the store every day for something. So it gets.
Do you cook every day?
Yeah. I mean, yeah. I think because you were here and because my sister was here over the weekend, which I'm going to blame that beer on her as well. But we've been out a few times, but otherwise. Before then, I think I'd only gone out to dinner in the first days that we were here. We like cooking at home, and restaurants don't open until 8:30, so usually I prefer to eat dinner a little bit earlier. There is a girl on the Ale Cipollini team, Anna Trevisi, and her family owns the Parmesan Reggiano, and she's good friends with some of our teammates, so she gets it for us by the kilo, and we just had a delivery. So right now Alexis this is 1 kilo, and Alexis got 3, and I got 2, so we have 5 kilos of Parmesan in our fridge.
Oh my God.
This makes the risotto that I make is...
So there are some perks to being a pro cyclist.
Would you like some cheese?
I'd love some cheese. I love cheese.
No, I mean, really, I feel like that is kind of all we do, is ride bikes, eat, sleep. I don't know what would be like, what do you do for fun? I think we're still so new to the city that it's like getting out and walking around and just seeing Girona can be fun. Yeah. And I'm old, so if I get some time to like quiet time to read a book, that's fun. Like
The life of a pro cyclist in 3 words.
Oh, scheiße. Eat, sleep, cycle.
Eat, sleep, cycle. Tanja, so that means you're going to have to say something different. So you're going to have to be more poetic, Tanja.
Mm-hmm.
Early to bed.
It's true. Yeah, it's true.
Well, Leah, your second year as a pro, your first. You're now a kind of seasoned professional, an old hand.
I don't know if I'd go that far, but not a rookie year anymore.
Is it easier this year than it was last year?
I haven't raced yet.
Yeah.
So
you don't know.
I'll let you know.
No, but does it feel different? Does it feel like you're picking up kind of old habits instead of learning stuff for the first time?
Both. My comfort level on the bike and my skill set has improved dramatically, but there's no substitute for hours in the peloton, which I still don't have. You know, you hope that the things you learned will translate into a better race experience, but until I have that first one, I just don't know. So I think it's kind of like I feel more pressure to
get results.
Just to be consistent. And our team is really on fire this year. They're really riding really well. So I want to be able to step in and be a part of that and be someone that my teammates can trust and rely on in a race. So there's nerves for me just on being able to deliver that.
Yeah. Tanja, you are Leah a year ago, kind of, except you have got more racing history. But your first race this season ended in a crash.
Yes.
And an injury. But you look like you're kind of well on the way to recovering from that.
Yes, I still have problems because I crashed at quite high speed and crashed on my hip, and I got some problems with my sacroiliac junction.
I noticed when you were out on the bike today, I noticed you were doing a bit of that towards the end of the ride. Was it?
Yeah.
Was it sore today?
Yeah, it's always that way. I have no pain for the first 20 minutes and then it's starting. So normally on the long rides I did a break after every hour because then I just need one. So it's not good yet, but I'm looking forward to improvement.
Now we saw in your flat today you've got a Zwift setup in there. How much do you use it in season?
Well, I'm working with a new coach this year who really has implemented strategic blocks of training using Zwift alongside training outdoors. So I'll be doing that, and then of course, when weather mandates that you're inside, when it's not safe for whatever reason. But yeah, I go through blocks of it's all outdoor, and then the last time it was a week or 2 weeks where most days I had part of the day on Zwift and part outside.
And obviously it's been useful for you recuperating from this crash, I guess.
Yeah, like the first month when I still was in Germany, I Zwifted a lot just because it was quite cold and wet.
And when you're fit, the other side of like the middle of April, fingers crossed, do you think you will also use Zwift during the racing season, during the on-season?
Yeah, first of all, I do not really like to ride when it's cold and ugly outside. That's the first point. And then sometimes you have like efforts that you don't want to do in normal traffic.
Yeah.
And that's, for me, it's a big reason, because I realized from year to year that I get more afraid of cars. And the more and more happens to people I know. So in some efforts, I think it just makes sense to stay inside and...
It's just easier to get certain things done on the trainer.
Yeah.
Well, I think lots and lots of pro cyclists would say that. Well, using Zwift is a fantastic way of staying in touch with the women's community, which I know you two are a very big part of. And I'm going to embarrass you now slightly by playing in a little clip of what Kate Verano, well, she's kind of head of everything women at Zwift. She's got a proper title, but I can't remember what it is. Brand manager, I think. Kate,
yes.
Sorry about that,
Yeah.
Kate. But Kate looks after Women's Week and all women's matters on Zwift, and she had this to say about you two. So.
Okay.
Don't be embarrassed. It's not that embarrassing. How close do you think do the rest of the people who graduated or even just took part in the academy feel to Leah and Tanja?
I think very close. I think to see them come up the way they did, to have been a part of the competition with them, and to see them really transition from amateur to pro, and for them to share their experience the whole way has been, it's so unique and exciting. And I think that it's not like the women's community feels like they know them. They actually know them. The girls make themselves so accessible to our community. It's going to be a really exciting year of content this year, of sharing their journey, and the exciting, the races, the living situation in Girona is a great new addition this year. We're trying to give a peek inside what a pro life looks like. I think that our community is going to really get a kick out of watching this progress.
Tanja, you're kind of newer to Zwift and newer to the women's community than Leah is. How connected do you feel to it?
I think men are sometimes very competitive, even in training rides, and I just think stick to your numbers. It's no competition here. But the girls are just they want to have fun, they want to connect, and it's kind of a nice atmosphere in such a workout.
Girls just want to have fun. Where have I heard that before?
Yeah, it's a movie and a song.
I mean, you're kind of I think you're a hero to the women's community, aren't you? No, you are.
You are.
Well, I don't know. I don't think you'll ever get me to call myself a hero.
No, but I called you a hero, so you could acknowledge it.
Thank you. I feel really connected with them, and I mean, I've met several of the girls in real life. Actually, we just saw one of our fellow Zwift sisters on the way here. She's visiting, but yeah, and I knew she was coming to Girona at some point, but really didn't remember when, and just saw her. I mean, Girona's small like that, so. Saw her walking down the street, and we'll probably end up, meeting her for a coffee or a ride or something. And so, yeah.
And would you mind that? I mean, if Zwifters were coming to Girona to, I don't know, for a holiday or visit or something, I mean, would you welcome them?
Yeah.
Would you meet them for a coffee, or probably not go for a ride with them because you're on a program?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Is I think that I speak for both of us when I say we're super accessible. We are also on a routine. It seems like people will come here on vacation, and even though it's all you have to do is ride, but we're on our schedule is pretty set, even though it's eat, sleep, bike, repeat. It's what we have, where we have to ride, what kind of rides we have to do.
Yeah, you're doing your job.
Right. Yeah. So, I would encourage anyone, if they were coming, for sure, reach out, and maybe we can grab a coffee, or maybe if it's an easy spin day, then it works out together. I think we welcome that. We won't always be able to accommodate it, but we welcome it. So, yeah.
And I mean, obviously, through social media, the women's community can feel connected to you in your racing career. I mean, are you going to be making a big effort to put out what you're doing this season and give a bit of insight? You're both doing blogs for Fox Women, and is that a duty, or is that something you like to do?
I think both. Sometimes social media can be sort of exhausting. Yeah. Because
and cruel and unfair and.
No, it's just it keeps you on your phone, and sometimes I feel like missing out.
Yeah.
The normal life, because I am on social media, but on the other hand, I'm afraid nobody's interested in it. That is another point. And I feel like if you put up 5 stories a day, then it's well, but who wants to see it? And then you see that people react on it, and then you realize maybe they are interested. But I think because it's so new, I sometimes feel just awkward doing it.
Yeah. But it's part of the job description of a professional athlete these days, isn't it? Social media, you've got to do it.
I think, sort of an unwritten job expectation. I mean, no one's saying like you have to post this many posts or you have to do, but it's encouraged especially I think for women's cycling. You know, everything, there's a massive push and movement in a lot of races that are stepping up to the plate and getting equality as far as the pay and things like that. And for those things, whether you like it or not, exposure matters. So
you've got to do it, really. I mean, it's kind of a duty to women's cycling as much as it is a duty to Zwift or a duty to your sponsors. Or yeah, I mean, I think that's a very good way of looking at it. Social media around women's racing and cycling is very active. And one person who's involved in that is Abby Mickey. Abby Mickey writes for Vox Women. She also does a podcast for Vox Women. And I thought it'd be really useful to talk to Abby and get a view on whether she thought these two, the Zwift girls, as you used to be called, were going to be, there was going to be more of a sense of acceptance of the way that they'd come into the peloton. And this is what Abby had to say about that.
So Vox Women is a UK-based women's cycling media coverage. We have everything from blogs by the riders themselves, the Zwift Academy winners, both of them, Leah and also Tanja. We also have videos that are interviews and race coverage and all that good stuff. So really, it's just like voxwomen.com is just a hub for women's cycling. It's a way to like feel really connected with the women in the peloton and their point of view of a lot of things.
Most unfortunately, my microphone made me sound like a Dalek. So this is me asking Abby whether she thinks the pro peloton has grown more accepting of the route into cycling taken by Leah and Tanja.
I think more so than last year, the women of the peloton are accepting of it. I think last year it was a little bit of just from like the chatter in the peloton, it was kind of like, oh, like there are girls who have been working years and years and years to work their way up to one of those contracts, and that somebody can just come in having never done a bike race and be strong on a trainer like that. Some girls were like, oh, it's not fair. But I mean, now that it's in the second year, and especially after watching Leah like fight tooth and nail last year to make herself part of the peloton, I think that people are a lot more accepting of it and a lot more appreciative of what Zwift is doing for the women's peloton and what it means for women who, you know, dream of being a pro cyclist. For women's cycling, it's cool because a lot of women get into the sport later, and having Zwift Academy, it just opens up a whole nother option for women who are working full-time jobs, who maybe are really, really strong. And we live in a day and age where you can follow your dream, and it's not impossible to do something that makes you happy and, you know, throw what would have been normal life out the window. So I mean, I think the Zwift Academy is really cool. I'm impressed by both of the girls that have won it.
Abby seemed to think there that the resistance was breaking down. And again, not to kind of flatter you, or maybe I am flattering you, but I think that was because last year you kind of proved yourself as an incredibly determined rider, apart from anything else.
I am determined.
You are very determined. I mean, you really are. And but do you think that the peloton is now accepting you for being more than a Zwift? I hate to use that kind of as a derogatory term. It's not, because it's just the way you came into the sport. But do you think they've kind of got over that a bit now, the ones who might not have liked it?
I think Tanya's first race, because you talked about the crash, but she also won 2 intermediate sprints before she crashed.
Yeah.
So I think her one race, oh, sorry, she won one. She was second in the other. Still, to score in, I mean, right up with, just be there with the experienced pro riders. I think that single race may have given more credibility to Zwift Academy than my entire season.
Yeah,
no, I mean, really, but just saying, if someone was going to criticize it, and if they wanted to, like, I'm glad that there's support, and I think if there's negativity about it, there's far more positivity in the peloton than there is negativity. But I think that something like that is going to silence the people who want to say that it's not.
Results work.
And I think
to kind of shut the rattle of people who Tanja, do you think you might get a slightly easier ride than the parts of the peloton gave Leah last year? I mean, I think probably for two reasons. One, you have kind of been that kind of icebreaker. I mean, you have smashed your way through icebergs and things without overstretching the analogy. But I mean, you come into it with more racing experience than Leah had. Do you expect to get any resistance, or do you think the kind of job of the Zwift girls can actually ride a bike and do races and do what pros do? Do you think that job's been done now?
Well, first of all, I'm really happy to be the second one because I think Leah did a great job in that, and kind of helps me now this year because I can ask her questions, and I'm not the first one. Everyone sort of knows how Zwift Academy works, and
Does she ask you lots of questions?
Are
you auntie?
sometimes.
Are you auntie or mother or big sister or
I'm
or
mom.
peer?
I'm mom.
Yesterday she was even vacuuming my room. Vacuuming.
Is that true?
Yeah. Well, but at first, I mean, I was vacuuming upstairs, and it was just like, I'm not going to vacuum my room in the hallway and then just like skip over your room because it's your room. And like, here's the vacuum. Could you do this? And our rooms aren't that big, so I was just like, do you want me to pass in here?
I was sitting on my bed listening to music like a teenager, and she came in just like.
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, well, I mean, it looks like to some extent the Academy has sort of come of age. I mean, it's produced two pro riders. So let's catch up with Kate and get her take on the health of the Zwift Academy program.
Well, straight off the bat, we had 5 times the graduates in Zwift Academy this year. We had 530 graduates, so that's a huge boost from the 110 last year. Really fantastic. Just to see that many women come out, take the challenge, and that's a hard program. Launching a groundbreaking worldwide talent search to find the next pro rider for Canyon SRAM racing. So it's a real test. So for that many women to come out and make the commitment to completing the full program was really impressive.
Not everybody who enters probably wants to be a pro. It's actually about being part of a community, isn't it?
Absolutely, and that's something that we discovered that first year. We built this talent ID competition, and instead of it, just turning into, this search for a pro, it turned into this just beautiful global women's community.
It's great to have a big group here.
They supported each other, they encouraged each other. It was a really incredible thing.
I look at it as an outsider because I'm not part of that community, but I do see evidence that kind of relationships that seem to have been formed in that community persist actually way beyond the community. Is that right?
Yeah, I think it's like any other academy or institution. When you go through something together, it makes you stronger.
With every ride and with every workout, we're building more momentum with more ladies joining.
And we had this great motto in Zwift Academy, strong on our own, fearless together. And you saw how the encouragement of the community made everybody stronger. And I think that a lot of people maybe wouldn't have finished it if it weren't for, I guess being encouraged by other riders.
That's awesome. We won't let you get dropped. We'll take it easy so you can catch up.
And everybody posting when they finished or when they finished one of the hard workouts and kind of commiserating with each other and celebrating with each other. It just built this real strong morale within the community, and it did become so much more than a talent ID competition. It was like this, this challenge that everybody was doing together, and that we are a part of something. And then, it grows to so much more than just a workout program.
So the graduation rate beats the male graduation rate into a cocked hat. And as I've mentioned on the podcast before, lots of women who came back to the academy did in fact come back to it. They'd been on it the year before. The return rate was like massive.
Yeah.
Why do you? And the men, to be fair to the men's one, it was year one last year, and I think there are going to be some tweaks made to it. But why do you think the women's academy is just so incredibly successful?
Women in general, I'm being sexist and stereotype, but I've lived 39 years as one now. I think that we're more emotional creatures in general. I think that something like this is a competition, and we absolutely encourage each other, and feed off each other's competitive spirit, but it also becomes a sisterhood. There's women, I think I would say, of those returning participants, I'm sure there was a percentage that thought, oh, I was so close, maybe next year. But I think there was probably equal number who didn't think, that they had no chance, and they knew this year they had no chance as far as actually getting a pro contract, but they wanted those relationships.
Yeah.
Because it really is a strong community of women. And I think men are just different that way. Like, I think they're a little bit less likely to, want to go meet another men's Zwift Academy person in real life and have a coffee. Like, I'm not saying it's never happened, but I just think women are more that way.
Being in Girona for the last couple of days, spending some time with both of you. I mean, it's a very programmed life. I was going to say, is it a lonely life? I don't think it's a lonely life because you've got lots of company and stuff. But do you feel very detached from the people back home? Does it feel like a different world, the world outside the pro cycling life now?
Being here, sort of.
Yeah.
And I think mostly because of feeling so fully integrated in it here. Like, I was never settled in one place last year. Yeah. I was here for 4 weeks. I was home for 4 weeks. I was here for 6 weeks. Yeah. So I didn't feel like I was never making a place a home. Like, of course, there's things that I miss, but I'm not counting the days. I don't feel homesick.
Yeah.
I'm comfortable here. Yeah. So yeah.
Homesick for you? I mean, Germany's closer than Little Rock, Arkansas, obviously. I mean, could you go back? But it's not actually the physical thing, is it? I think it's the psychological commitment to the life of a pro bike racer in Girona.
For me, nothing changed so much because the place where I grew up was like 400 kilometers away from the place where I studied, and I never felt comfortable in that place where I studied. People who know me know. And it was a 6-hour train ride back home, and now it's like a 2-hour flight, so that didn't really change. And I had the contact to my parents. My sister was only over the phone, and that stayed the same.
And obviously there's like more ways than ever of keeping in touch with people. I mean, we were just talking about social media. I'm sure friends and family track your progress on social media as much as they do
even my uncles
voice calls from you. And there are multiple ways of staying in touch these days, as we know, and one of them actually is Zwift. And two sisters on completely opposite sides of the world do use Zwift as a means of keeping a connection going. So let's hear their story. Well, welcome to the Zwiftcast to Amy and to Jenny. Hello, you two.
Hi. Hello, Simon.
And okay, so the reason we've got you on is because Amy is in Sydney, Australia, and Jenny is in New Hampshire, USA. And in the manner of one of those sisterly chats that I never, ever, ever have with my sister, she like rings me up and I say, oh, "What's wrong?" But I gather sisters do talk to each other. You two are sisters, and you not only talk to each other a lot, but you talk to each other on Zwift whilst riding. Amy, tell me some more. How does this work?
We hop on Discord. We hop on there and we decide what route we're going to go, what group ride or race we're going to do, and we chat the whole way. We encourage each other if it's a race, basically just digest what's going on in our lives and work it all out.
Jenny, is this a replacement for those very long phone calls that sisters tend to have with each other when they're not in the same place?
Yeah, I mean, it's a lot more fun because instead of just sitting on the couch doing nothing, we're getting a workout in at the same time. So it's sort of killing two birds with one stone in our busy lives.
It sounds great. Amy, you were telling me when we were chatting just off camera earlier on that you introduced your sister Jenny to bicycles and bike racing, and she has rather annoyingly got a bit better at it than you now. Is that right?
Yes, for sure, and I feel it on the hills.
I mean, I hate it when that happens. How have you allowed that to happen?
I don't know. I've tried to lose a little weight to keep up, but it's hard.
Is this right, Jenny? Are you something of a beast on a bike?
But I mean, I've certainly gotten a lot better. I mean, there was only one way to go. I haven't really ridden a bike before I joined Zwift a little over a year ago. So, but no, Amy's still pretty strong. And I think if I go faster, it's because she's pushing me to go faster, not because I'm just doing it.
I mean, Amy, have you done many kind of sisterly athletic endeavours together?
So we've done a bunch of stuff on and off, but since having kids, we've both started running passionately, and we've run the Boston Marathon together.
Are you going to start running on Zwift now? There's running on Zwift.
Well, I have started running. Amy doesn't have a treadmill right now, so she can't run on Zwift yet.
Yes, I'm feeling the pressure.
I mean, the thing is with running and talking. I mean, that must be completely impossible, mustn't it? Do you think you could do that? Did you chat to each other while you were running the marathon?
We're really good at running and chatting.
You're very good at lots of things, but it sounds like you're very good at chatting. I mean, just going on to the kind of broader picture of the women's community and Zwift. I mean, it does seem like a super, and I don't want to kind of lapse into sexist stereotypes here, but it does seem a very social and sort of chatty place, Jenny. Is that right?
I think so. I mean, definitely, a lot of the women will text messages and chat and stuff like that. And and it's a very very supportive environment on the women's rides. Because you'll see women just spontaneously drop back and pick people up and bring them back up to the group and that sort of thing. So yeah, it's definitely social and chatty.
One thing about the Zwift women's community is it sort of feels like it's smaller than it ought to be, really. I mean, Jenny, do you try and kind of recruit friends to it?
I recently did recruit someone to it. I don't know if she's going to do it or not. She sent me a message. What was the name of that program again? Living in New England, the winters are long, and so having something to do indoors when it's icy outside can be really helpful. So, yeah. So I definitely try to recruit friends.
Yeah. Well, that's very, very, very good work, Amy. I know there's a terrific Australian and a terrific Australian women's community in Australia because I've had the privilege of meeting some of the people. I mean, is it growing there? Do you think?
I think, yes, definitely growing. And I think it's really supported when they have the Rafa meetups. It's incredible to go to those. You've been riding with people all year. You show up and you're like, oh my gosh, there are all these really fit people here. And it's just a great community.
But it's fantastic to see two sisters on literally, I mean, the either side of the world, keeping up on Zwift. A pleasure to talk to both of you. Thank you very much indeed.
Thanks.
Oh, thank you so much, Simon.
Let's talk about the upcoming year ahead in terms of racing. Maybe one of the highest profile races that you're both going to be racing is the Tour of California. Mm-hmm. I mean, do you see that as your biggest race that you know about this season?
Yeah, I have 2 World Tour races, and those obviously are kind of my A races, and then I have some smaller races at the end of the season. And I think Tour of California, between being a World Tour level race and then being the only team event that I'll get to have in my home country. People, when are you going to race here? And I don't think, California is quite a ways from Arkansas, so I don't expect to have a lot of people there, but I may have some people there, and they'll be able to access it on television, which you can't, even if things are on television here, a lot of it you can't get
in the US.
Yeah, and even if it's live streamed, a lot of times there's what's it called when it's blocked, so you can't. So I think it's kind of special for me in that way. It's mid-season, or for me, really, it's going to be my second race, so it's early season feel to me. Yeah. And my hope is that I'll continue to progress throughout the season to where my season highlight as far as performance or ability to deliver something for myself and or for my team, I would hope will be something later.
See how the season goes, I think, is what you really mean by that, isn't it? Yeah. Tanya, we were discussing last night that you're going to be racing the Tour de Yorkshire, which is on my home roads. Which I like that. nothing flat at all, and hard roads. I think the men last year when they did the Tour de Yorkshire said the roads were hard. So sorry about that. Are you looking forward to it?
I am. I'm actually really looking forward to the Healthy Aging Tour because there's no up and down. Yeah. And I love the Dutch people. I did a lot of Dutch races last year. I nearly raced every second weekend in the Netherlands last year at Fixgeerkrets. And so I have a lot of friends there that already said they're going to come and watch at least one stage. And I think that's going to be great. So I'm really looking forward to that. And like a race is the Tour of California.
Yeah.
And on the other hand, I'm looking forward to every race I'm doing.
Well, there was a breakthrough in a sense for women's racing and riding on Zwift recently with the advent of the first women's SRAM Tour, which sadly was marred, would be one word, ruined, probably too strong, but there was certainly an incident which caused quite a lot of chatter, understandably. Let's talk to Kate about what the incident was and what was done about it. The clue is that on my script, this is called, to the amusement of these two, this little segment is called The Trouble with Men.
There was some bloke who, I think he acknowledges he was acting like a complete fool, who entered a women's event simply to get a jersey. And there was a big outpouring of, well, let's call it what it was. There was a big outpouring of anger over that. Why? Why did we get such a strong reaction to that, Kate?
It was the first time we had actually done something, the first women's tour that we had, the SRAM women's tour. One stage, a dude joined, and not only joined, but actually did, I think he basically won the stage. It's completely understandable that the women's community was incredibly frustrated with that. It feels like a violation. It was just a real bonehead move to not only enter the event, but to outperform, the women. It's not something that happens very often, but when it does, we take kind of swift action on it.
People do wonder sometimes whether Zwift maybe ought to, in very isolated numbers of incidents, take swift action. So let me just ask you, what action did you take over that particular incident?
He sort of got a public shaming, and I think we all felt that was enough in that case. There was another gentleman that decided to kind of skirt the accusation and not own up to his actions, and he received a temporary ban.
Well.
So, and that's
people do expect Zwift to do something.
Yeah, and then he was really, really apologetic. But we take it very seriously. We will be taking some action in the future so that it's a lot more difficult to join an event in that manner. There's a lot of ways we could deal with this. So any man out there thinking about it, think twice.
To interfere with a women's only event, to be honest, why? There's no need for that. There's no need actually even to be part of it because there's like hundreds of men's events. So why anyway? We have been through that and it was well rehearsed and it was good to see Zwift taking action about it. I suppose one thing this does prompt a little discussion on is there much? Do you ever train with the guys in real life? Is there much? Is the women's peloton and the men's peloton, are they completely separate?
I'm only a pro rider for 2 months now. Yeah. But before I only rode with boys. Like I never trained with girls actually. No.
Right.
But I think that's just a thing that there are more guys. So if you're maybe in an area where not a lot of people ride, it's just easier to find male cyclists than girls. It's just not that I don't want to ride with girls, it's just like you don't find them that often.
Do you train with the guys ever?
When I'm at home, it's mostly guys. The same as Tanja. There are a few girls and there's that I'm very close friends with, and occasionally, the reason that if we didn't train together, it was a lot of they have a program as well. So it's like there's almost always guys who, they're always open for a group ride, whether it's a tax or whether it's cruising. Like you're always going to have those guys. Where the girls, I think there's the social women who may be just getting into it, and I think you know that I don't mean this in the way of like our training paces and efforts are different.
Yeah.
And then there's the women who we're kind of at the same level, and they're kind of all on a program. So it's like you're all just like she said. There's more available men now. Here I haven't trained with the men, partially because I don't know a ton of them, and then like.
But I mean, people might find this surprising. I mean, you generally train alone, don't you? I mean, even though you two are living together, you don't tend to train together.
Typically,
that
just
often?
on easy days, because when you have your efforts set, you can go out saying like, okay, we'll ride together for the beginning or something, but you rarely. I don't know if I've ever seen us line up where like, oh, that's your workout today. I have the same thing.
Yeah.
Aside from at team camp.
Yeah.
So
But on a recovery day, you would.
Yeah, we did.
Like we saw you today. You go out and ride together and chat. And
Yesterday we did like 3 hours together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had 3 hours. She had 4 hours, so we did 3 together, and then.
Yeah, but the times those things coincide are quite infrequent.
Yeah, the fact that we've had 2 in a row now is kind of astonishing.
Yeah.
But and I think we just get sort of used to it. So where it's, if you have people to train with, even when I was at home in Little Rock, it was typically the weekend long rides that you'd look for a bunch to ride with. But when you're doing a specific session, it's easier to just do what you've got to do.
Yeah. Well, one place, without this sounding like a terrible advert, but one place where it is really easy to find women to ride with of a similar ability is obviously on Zwift, and that has led to a very strong community of women riders on Zwift. So let's hear once more from Kate, be the last one from Kate this actually, on why she thinks the women's community on Zwift is special.
The women's community has grown significantly. I would not say it's overwhelming, but it's promising in the right direction. The engagement is really high. What I love to see is more women doing group events and workouts, and more women starting teams and joining teams and starting events. So I think the engagement is definitely at its highest point ever and moving in a very solid direction.
And do you think it's that kind of engagement that will eventually basically bring more women onto the platform?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, just like in real life, it's having a community to encourage you, to motivate you when you maybe, it's a little cold this morning, or I'm a little tired from last night, but knowing that there's other women out there that are excited to have you there, that you can share the pain with, and you can share the joy with. It makes the workouts go by easier. It makes the effort more fun, and I think it's a huge part, especially of our women's community. I think the social side of it is massive. There's just so much bonding going on, and I think it encourages people to ride more often.
We know women's cycling is on the rise. It's clearly strong on Zwift. Do you think Zwift can match in real life, or do you think Zwift could actually even improve in real life? And I'm talking about overall women's participation here.
Yeah, I absolutely do. I think that there's so much opportunity in Zwift where we could reach a lot of women in a lot of ways. And I think that women especially will respond to the social side of Zwift and see the opportunity to get together on rides when that might be a little harder in real life. But, it's incredibly easy to ride with people all over the world. So I see women taking the opportunity to create the rides, to create the opportunity to create the events, to bring together women all around the world. So I think absolutely.
Everything I hear does suggest that there is this very special characteristic of the Zwift women's community. Now, my thing about it is, I just think it ought to be bigger than it is. There just ought to be more women on Zwift. Why? And it is growing. And Kate did say that she feels that the strength of the community will be reflected in increased numbers in due course. But why do you think we have still got this big imbalance between men and women on Zwift and in real life? I mean, why are we not seeing more women riders? Or am I being too negative? Are we actually seeing more and more women on bikes? Is that your everyday experience?
No, I think especially back home. I mean, I know we've been trying, but it's like you put together, you fight to have a women's field, for example, at a Criterium series, and on a good day, you've got 3 different categories for men, and you have just open women, and maybe have on a good day 8 women. So, and I don't know.
Because do you think this is linked to what we were talking about before, which was a lack of TV coverage up to press, and is it?
I think that's more for pros though, and for why.
But is there a kind of role model effect where you see very strong, powerful women on TV winning races, and that's going to encourage more young women to think about taking up cycling as a competitive sport, or is that grossly oversimplistic?
Tough question. I just think you can spot that in every sport, except of women-only sports, that there's most of the time a bigger male crowd doing the sport than a female crowd.
In mixed sports.
Yeah, no matter if it's football or if it's in triathlon, it used to be the same.
Well, and I do wonder, I spent some time last year in an attempt at preparation to be more comfortable in the races with my teammates. I went to Belgium and did some races. And I mean, it might have been a Wednesday night, a Saturday night, and there was a field of 85 women. So what I would be curious about is, I mean, I do understand there's a culture of cycling in Belgium that goes back years and years and years. But that started somewhere.
Yeah.
So how did they get that culture there where, why is there 85 in a random city in Belgium and in Little Rock, Arkansas, there's 8?
Yeah.
So I don't.
I mean, it suggests that it suggests that it can happen. It's maybe what needs to come together to make it happen. Anyway, the thing is, we shouldn't really finish this discussion on a negative, because we just celebrated Women's Week, and that is a great thing in Zwift and for women's cycling in general. And if you look at women's cycling in general, I think my view of it is definitely on the rise.
Yeah, absolutely.
And sooner or later, that probably will be reflected in greater and greater numbers participating.
Yeah.
So let's take that as a positive to end this special podcast on.
I didn't mean that to be negative. I was more saying it's remarkable how many they have.
Yeah.
What could we do differently to?
Yeah.
And I think what I spotted, in the last year's fixed gear crits that I did, that women sometimes are more afraid of just doing a race, where men they do it because they think they're great. So
they're just plunging without thinking about it.
They just do it because they don't think about it, or don't double think it, or how you say it. I don't know. Overthink it. And women just have to feel really comfortable to start racing. And I can just encourage girls and women to go out there and race, because that's how you get the experience and realize that it's real fun to do it.
Yeah. Okay, well, we've chatted for ages and ages and ages. I've thoroughly enjoyed it, as ever. It's been great not only chatting to you today, spending some time with you today. Shall we tell people what happened when we came back from the end of the ride today? I thought that was really interesting. So we got pulled. I was on the back of a scooter, being Mr. Fat and lazy and not standing a chance of keeping up with these two, particularly whilst holding a camera. So I was on the back of a scooter and we got pulled by the cops, didn't we?
Coming back into the city to where there's a bit more traffic, and we were kind of trying to navigate the best way to get back to our street, which is a one-way street. I kind of whipped a Yui to tell you guys, hey, can you navigate back to the apartment? We're going to take this way. And a cop on a bike, on a motorcycle, pulled up, and I thought, I wasn't even sure what law I'd broken, but I was like, we just...
Well, I was the same, because he pulled up to us, and he spoke in Catalan, and I couldn't understand what he was saying, but then anyway, he spoke to us, and we weren't sure. I thought I was in trouble for kind of I don't know, unauthorised filming or something, because I was on the back.
And he said, are these friends of yours?
Yeah.
do you know these guys on the bike? And I think he was protecting us. He was concerned that you were some creep with a camera,
Maybe he
stalking us around.
Yeah, maybe he just saw you all morning.
I know.
He followed us all morning through Girona with a camera.
But apart from being, suspected of being some weird stalker with a camera, actually, I thought that was pretty.
Yeah, it was nice.
It was quite reassuring. I thought. Actually.
Yeah, it was really nice.
I thoroughly enjoyed it. I think I could get used to following cyclists on a scooter. It's damn sight easier than pedaling a bike, I can tell you. Anyway, listen, it's been fabulous spending some time with you. Really, really enjoyed it both on and off camera over the last couple of days. Fantastic good luck for the season.
Thank you.
Hope your injury recovers really, really quickly.
Thank
and
you.
Good luck for the rest of the season.
Thank you.
I know we'll be able to follow your exploits on social media as ever.
And we do our best.
And
and I know you'll
vlogs
do your
too.
best. And thank you for being my special co-host. So you have been my co-host of a special podcast. Thanks very much indeed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for watching or listening. See you next time.